how's it going, everybody? Sinful Duck here, and today we're going to take a look at the revamped Morrowind version of my flamethrower build. This was a pretty popular one back in the day, and so with the changes in Morrowind and some of the things that have come out since then, I wanted to kind of remake this build and see what it would do. So let's go ahead and start off by diving into the skills. Alright, so on the main bar you can see we're running a Destro staff. So my main skill is going to be funnel health. That's like your main spammable damage ability right there. You can use Swallow Soul there if you want, but I do run in a duo sometimes with my buddy Zero Maz, so I like to keep this as funnel health just so that he gets that benefit from it. But if you are mostly a solo player, or if you just don't care about healing the other people in your group because they can do it themselves, Swallow Soul is a good option for that as well, but I like funnel health. Next up, Crippling Grasp. That's going to be a major dot as well as your main source of major expedition, and it's also a really good snare during combat. Then we got Merciless Resolve here next. You guys, I'm sure, know exactly what that does. It gives you the minor berserk buff, and it lets you proc that crazy bow. Then we've got Flame Reach. Now, Flame Reach is kind of an important one on this. This is going to be your... it's another dot, which is good because we'll get into why you need the dots. I'm sure some of you can already guess by just me saying that, but... it's good because you get the dot, but it's also going to be a form of ranged CC that you're probably going to rely on pretty heavily with this build. So I love using Flame Reach as a ranged CC. The dot ticks are pretty decent. They're not huge, but the initial hit from this skill can be really, really good. So we're going with Flame Reach on this as well. Our last skill here on the bar is Elemental Drain. Now this has a couple purposes. This is here, number one, to give you your spell pen, because we're not running a sharpened weapon. So this is here to give you your spell pen. It's also going to give you, as you can see at the bottom of the tooltip there, another 300 Magicka per second. So I'm sure most of you guys, again, you guys know this, but 300 every 1 second is actually the equivalent of 600 on your stat screen. So where it says Magicka Recovery, add another 600 to that if you're using this skill. For the ultimate, I have Soul Assault. Now you can use just about whatever you want there. I'm using Soul Assault just because it's a really strong single target ultimate. It's gonna hit real hard. It's another dot, which is very good for this build, but it just hits so hard, and it only costs 100, so why not? You can use it with Soul Harvest. I have done that before, and it actually works really well. So Soul Harvest or Incapacitating, depending on what your preference is and if you're playing CP or not. Alright, let's move on to the back bar here. So first up on the back bar, we've got Degeneration. So I'm using that as my major sorcery. Again, it's also another dot and another source of a little bit of healing, because you get, with this morph, light and heavy attacks will heal you for 121% of the damage caused. So you've got a chance of that going off, which can potentially be a pretty big heal if you get off a nice heavy attack. We got Healing Ward on this bar, so obviously we all know what Healing Ward is. That is going to be the skill that saves your life, so that's a very important one here. We've also got Fear. This is going to be your CC if you're fighting against somebody who's roll dodging a lot or blocking, or just if you're fighting multiple enemies that are, you know, melee and they're right on top of you. Fear is amazing. This skill, for the most part, this skill never leaves my bar. It is always there. It is way too strong to give up. And we have Double Take. Now, this is going to give you your major evasion, which is your dodge chance. But the reason I take Double Take over Mirage is for the on-demand speed boost. You get major expedition anytime you need it. So in combat, out of combat, doesn't matter. A lot of people like to run Mirage for the little bit extra resistance, but to be perfectly honest, that amount of resistance isn't saving you a whole lot. But this speed can potentially save your life. So I like having the extra speed, but that's a choice that's up to you. Last up here, we've got Leeching Strikes. I am using this morph over the Magicka morph now. The Magicka one is still strong, but in a CP campaign, or if you're just out dueling, Leeching Strikes is so strong. So that is on my bar definitely right now. If you're playing in non-CP, you can change that for the Magicka morph, or you can put something else in there like Cloak. It's totally up to you there. That's kind of a flex spot for me. Then for our ultimate, I'm using Soul Tether, partially because Soul Tether is just such a strong ability, and I really like using that. It gives you a nice AoE ultimate. It gives you good damage, it gives you an AoE stun, and it gives you a big heal. So I like to keep this on there. It's also on there in case I get rid of Leeching Strikes. I need to have a siphoning ability on the bar. So Soul Tether is kind of my go-to for the back bar ultimate right now. Alright, so you guys have been waiting to see what is the gear. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. So first thing right off the bat, looking at the gear, first thing you're going to notice is Skoria. So this is why I was saying that the amount of dots that we have is so important. So obviously the more dots the better, because this procs off of dots, and this is a very big form of burst for you. So with the amount of dots that we can generate on this build, this goes off a lot. And I'll actually, let's jump back to the skills here and I'll show you the amount of dots that we have on here. So that's what do we say, 1, 2, 3, 4 for burning, and 5. We can generate 5 dots off of the skills that we have here. So very important to have the dots because of Skoria, and Skoria hits hard and it's gonna go off a lot. It goes off a lot with this build with that many dots, so very important here. Head and Shoulders of Skoria. I've got light and heavy, but you know, kind of set it up however you need to there. The set on our back bar is Wizard's Riposte. So when you take crit damage, you apply minor maim. Very important. That is a huge damage reduction. 15% damage reduction is the equivalent of having 10,000 armor and spell resistance that can't be affected by spell pen. So very good buff there. And you might say, why run a 5-piece for that instead of just running the Shade? Well, number one, the Shade costs you Magicka, and yes, it's a very good skill, but this set will affect everyone that hits you. It's kind of an AoE set, so I like running this over the Shade just for that reason, because you're going to put minor maim on anyone that attacks you, whether they just put a dot on you and go attack someone else, it doesn't matter, they are going to get minor maim. So I really like this set as a back bar. This is only on the back bar, so you have to swap to your back bar to proc it, which isn't a problem because we have so many buffs on the back bar that we're going to be using anyway. And then our main bar is once again Torugs Pact, which Torugs Pact was kind of the staple set for the flamethrower initially, and in my opinion it's still such a good set that I couldn't change it out. It's so strong and it really shines with this build, so we're going with it again. Now, we used to use the flame enchant on the weapon. Obviously this build is called the flamethrower, so we had the flame enchant. We're not using the flame enchant anymore. We're going with shock for one simple reason, and that is concussion. The concussion status effect gives you 8% more damage on that target, and not just you, but it gives everybody 8% more damage on that target. So very strong. Alright, so let's see how we have this set up. So we've got Skoria up here, Head and Shoulders. Wizard's Riposte I've got on the chest, the Resto Staff, and the jewelry. So those are your 5 pieces there. Torugs Pact, you've got the Destro, and then you've got your four lower pieces on the body here. They are all gold. They are, or at least all the Torugs Pact is triglyph. You don't have to go triglyph. You can go all Magicka if you want to. I actually just changed to the triglyph, and it's nice. I don't really, it's not like a huge noticeable difference in combat, but it is nice. So you can do that if you want to. That's definitely an option, but if you don't have the gold, or if you're just trying to test the set out, just go with Magicka. That's what I have on these pieces anyway, so nothing wrong with that at all. So let's look at our stats here. Now, I am not in PvP, so I'm out in Reaper's March right now. So we do have champion points on, and we do not have the Battle Spirit buff going for us right now. So you can see, even without Battle Spirit, we're still at 20,000 health. And we're using Witch Mother's Potent Brew, Atronach Mundus, but 20,000 health right now outside of PvP. So you're going to be sitting at about 25,000 health. We've got 34,000 Magicka, which is a little bit low. It's a little bit low, but it's not bad. Stamina, we're at 11k. Not bad, especially if you're in CP and you're using Leeching Strikes. 11k is just fine. Spell damage, you're 2100 unbuffed. Spell resist, you're almost at 18,000 spell resist, which is very high. That's very high, and you're in light armor, so against other casters you're going to be very well off here. Physical resist, you're at 9k, which isn't bad. It's obviously it's not very high, but it's not bad. But crit resist, almost 2,400 crit resist. That is actually very, very high. You can drop that down if you feel like you need or want to. You don't need to have this high, but the important one, whether you're in CP or not, the important thing here, Magicka recovery. Right now, obviously with CP, we're sitting just shy of 1,800. We're at 1,770 basically here, which is a very strong number, especially when you consider that we have Elemental Drain, which gives us another 600 here. So very strong magic recovery, and our skills are not going to be costing us a lot. So the main thing that you're going to be casting is Funnel Health, and look at the cost on that. Look at it, 1,600. That is so cheap. Yeah, so that's our stats. We've looked at the skills and the gear. I'll show you guys the CP real quick. It's really not that important. You guys should know how to set up CP at this point, but just in case, I'll run you through. And this is not like, you know, I didn't sit down with a calculator and min-max or any of that stuff, so this is just kind of what I felt like the build needed. So we've got 40 in Warlord, 49 in Siphoner, which you can get rid of if you don't care about that. 2 in Sprinter, just to throw extra points there. 75 in Arcanist, so you are going to lose that if you go non-CP, but again, not a big deal. You're still above 1,600. Tenacity, we got a little bit there just to give us extra Magicka back on the heavy attack. Tumbling, that's another important one. 37 points there. We've got 20 in Elfborn for our crit damage. 75 Elemental Expert, so we're getting extra damage there. Spell Erosion, 24 points for our Spell Pen. Master at Arms, 51. And Thaumaturs, we are doing a lot of dots in this build. Keep that in mind. So Thaumaturs, we're at 16%, which is 40 points. And then our Red Tree, 20 points in Ironclad, 30 in Resistant, which again, you can remove those points because our crit resist was actually really high. 70 into Hardy and Elemental Defender. Don't do 70. Don't do 70. Why? I don't know why I have 70. Especially when you only need 64. Yeah, 64. So do 64 in those. And put the rest, I don't know, in Bastion. What does that give us? 5 point whatever. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. So that's what we want to do there. 64 in Hardy and Elemental Defender. 13 in Bastion, and 19 in Quick Recovery. Alright, so that's going to do it for this build video. There's going to be some clips here coming up, so hopefully you guys will stick around for that. And hopefully you guys enjoy this build. Leave a comment down below if you've got any questions on the build or any suggestions that you think might help improve it. So yeah, leave a comment down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. And until next time, guys, take it easy.